Good day to all of you out there. Welcome to the program Agenda. You are watching us via Signal TV channels 8 and 250. And if not, you can watch us via facebook.com/OneNewsPH as well as on YouTube. Just dial in OneNewsPH. I'm Cito Beltran, your host. Welcome to the program. And we think we're going to have a very interesting morning because of the topics on hand. We will be discussing, of course, what's on the papers, in the newspaper, in the front page of the Philippine Star. We will also be interviewing two gentlemen who are regulars in the program Agenda. First off, we will have Undersecretary of the DILG, Jonathan Malaya, because there have been interesting developments. Why is the DILG cutting back on the number of contact tracers that they are hiring? What is the DILG's role in terms of this cha-cha or move to basically rewrite parts of the Constitution? And also, what is this report that the DILG is telling local government officials? Buy only 50% of the vaccines you need, and the national government will supply the 50%. Is this so that the local government doesn't have to buy everything? Or is it to ensure that what the national government buys from China is still used by local governments? And after that, we will speak with Professor Leyco of the pamantasan ng lungsod ng Maynila. He is the president, President Emmanuel Leyco of the LMP, and we will discuss with him why are the congressmen really pushing for constitutional change or reform or cha-cha. Why are the business sectors opposing? Meron ba ditong scenario where the local businessmen or groups don't want any change in the Constitution because they are already familiar with the game and they don't want any imported teams coming in to compete with them in the court of business in the Philippines? We will address all of that. Please stick around, join us this morning, and we promise that we will be asking a lot of questions. Now, I just want to say hello. Pasensya na po kayo. Apparently, this is a season of allergies, and yours truly is just one of many people who are now struggling with allergies in the Philippines. Akala ko yung hay fever na yan sa Aremica lang, sa Amerika lang. Apparently, meron ding klase ng hay fever dito sa Pilipinas, especially for those of us who are going outside of Metro Manila on a regular basis. Now, today we hope to get in touch with other personalities, but just as an update to our friends, lalo na po yung mga magbababoy, I received a very early morning text from Secretary William Dar concerning do sa pinag-usapan namin kahapon regarding the insurance for hog raisers. Apparently, the PCIC or Philippine Crop Insurance Corporation, I think it's a government-owned corporation, who is largely known for insuring crops, lalo na yung palay, pag may bagyo, apparently has a program for hog raisers also. So, kayo pong mga magbababoy, lalo na yung large farms, you might want to look into that. In any case, we will check into that. And clearly, Secretary Dar is on the ball and medyo talagang pinag-iinitan na niya itong mga gumagalaw sa ASF. So, if you would, please read my column tomorrow in the Philippine Star. And I am writing about how to put a stop to some of the causes of the spread of ASF. May mga magagalit sa akin, may mga matutuwa, but you know, this is not a popularity contest. We all need to participate and find ways and means to help government and to stop the spread of disease. Okay, let's move forward with today's program by looking at the front page of the Philippine Star. President Rodrigo Duterte defended the government's deal with China's Sinovac over its vaccine shots. Duterte said the price of the Sinovac vaccine would be made public after they review the deal. Okay. Alam niyo po, yan na nga yung sinasabi. Medyo malaki na yung apoy kung kailan doon na naglabasan yung detalye. In any case, still on vaccines, Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin said that China is not pushing its COVID-19 vaccines as part of its diplomacy. Okay, ha? Wala raw po silang vaccine diplomacy. Beijing recently donated 500,000 doses to Manila, and Locsin said this is only in keeping with President Xi Jinping's commitment to President Duterte. Anong commitment? Suportahan ta ka. Siguro, yun yung commitment ni Xi Jinping sa ating mahal na Pangulo. Suportahan ta ka. O sige, padalang kita ng 500,000 doses. So kung 500,000, in reality, 250,000 doses lang yun. Sasabihin, ako Beltran, ikaw talaga masyado ka marami napapansin. Nagsasalita lang po. Okay, 7 co-passengers of the patient with the new COVID variant have not been contacted yet, says the Health Department. DOH says the co-passengers could not be contacted in the addresses and numbers they provided. Okay. Calling. Alam nyo po, mga kaibigan, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that we have a privacy law. But we also have a global pandemic, we have a national health crisis, and we have a new threat, a new variant that is a major threat to the spread of COVID, for the spread of COVID-19. I think dapat lang kung hindi makita o ayaw magpakita itong mga individual na ito, I think it is only proper that the DOH and the IATF announce publicly their names. Because that way, if they hear their names, passenger so-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so, whatever, at least mapipilitan na silang magpakita. Because some of them might not really even know that they are one of the Magnificent Seven. Seven ba yun? Okay? Magnificent Seven na hinahunting ng DOH and ng IATF. Kasi alam nyo po, we have excessively Americanized ourselves with this privacy law. Sorry, merong national crisis eh. Tapos sasabihin, we cannot name names. Pero yung suspects sa Dacera case, yung 11 o 14 o 13, more than half of them have been named even before the benefit of a hearing, final report of the investigation, na pangalanan na sila, na dyaryo na sila, na video na sila, na pahiya na sila. But here, you have 7 malingering individuals walking around, maybe not even knowing that they are carriers or potential carriers of a deadly virus. So I think we need to blurt out, announce, write, report their names para magkaalaman na po. Kasi ewan ko, pasahero galing sa ganitong lugar, sumakay sa ganitong araw, hello, siguro naman magkakaalaman tayo dyan. In any case, okay, the Interagency Task Force, or IATF, is eyeing a new normal status for areas with no COVID-19 transmission. This means they're no longer under quarantine but must still follow safety protocols. alam niyo po, parang what's new pussycat, sabi nga ni Tom Jones, ano, kasi parang halos wala na rin naman talagang quarantine na sinusunod, health protocols na lang ang sinusunod. Yung iba lang talaga, kumbaga ayaw lang nilang masita sila ng DILG, but for all intents and purposes, there is really travel. There's already system on the ground. People are traveling. They're just simply having themselves tested. So I think all these categories of normal, etc., they only apply if we have a problem. In any case, in other news, Pala says the economic charter change being pushed by some lawmakers can help the country in its recovery. We will discuss more of this later on the show with economist and president of the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila, PLM. Ano ba yun? PLM nga. PLM. Okay. Emmanuel Leyco. And finally, the Banco Sentral ng Pilipinas unveils its commemorative 5,000 peso banknote and medal to celebrate the heroism of Lapu-Lapu. Okay. Siguro it's about time for the National Historical Institute and the other academic institutions to really study the character or person of Lapu-Lapu. Tunay ba talaga si Lapu-Lapu? Sino ba talaga siya? Etc. etc. I'm not doubting, casting doubt on Lapu-Lapu. It's just, it would help if people knew more about Lapu-Lapu than they know of the BTS. Naku, papatayin ako ni Arvic Tolentino. Ang mga bata ngayon, mas marami pang alam dyan sa BTS na yan, yung Korean pop group, which Smart, by the way, has engaged with as their, I think, their ano ba tawag nun? Endorsers. In any case, ayan na. Okay, so ang katanungan, ready na kaya ang ating best friend, Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya? Let's bring in the Undersecretary of Interior and Local Government for Plans and Public Affairs and Communication, USEC Jonathan Malaya. Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Good morning po. Good morning to all your televiewers.
Happy New Year! Very colorful. Ganda ng kulay mo. Very healthy.
Yes, sir. Actually, nabanggit mo yung ano, sir. Nabanggit mo yung 5,000 note. I was in Central during the launching last night. No, I'm a member of the National Centennial Committee, and we have several activities to commemorate the victory in Mactan.
Okay.
From 500 years.
Okay, hindi kasi ang sa akin naman yung comment ko is, I'm really curious because we know about General Luna because of a movie.
Yes.
We've seen so many movies about Rizal. Now someone is making a movie about Bonifacio. Pero parang sabi ko, alam mo, si Lapu-Lapu lang, parang sino ba yung singer na Bisaya na nagsabi na, I don't know, Oo.
Yoyoy. Si Yoyoy yun.
Yun.
Actually, sir, dito, mas sikat pa yung Lapu-Lapong Escabeche kaysa dun sa Lapu-Lapong...
Walang ganyanan. Hindi ba... Tagal ko nang hindi nakatikim ng escabeche. Ako, maraming tao hindi alam ko ano ibig sabihin ng escabeche. That's vinegar, sugar with lots of onions and a little pepper on the side. Okay, Yusek John, let's get into the serious affairs of state. Ang tanong lang po, una kong tanong, regarding this economic charter change being pushed by Congress, I am of the impression that the people who started this was the DILG. If my memory serves me correctly, we talked about this before the lockdown, and parang sinusuportahan ng mga local government units or whatever. There was a group that I think you were familiar with. Paano ba yung simula nito?
Well, ang pinakasimula nito, Sir Cito, was way back ni panahon pa ni President Erap. remember President Erap had the Concord, no? So he was proposing, he created a committee which proposed amendments to the Constitution, and the primary purpose was lifting the economic restrictions in the economic provisions of the Constitution. Then move forward to the current administration. The president created the Interagency Task Force on Constitutional Reform, and it's led by the DILG with Secretary Guevara of the DOJ as vice chair. And during the meetings of the IATF, it was decided that instead of pushing for a full revision of the Constitution, the time remaining in the administration allows only for surgical amendments to the Constitution. And we prepared some surgical amendments, no? One on the strengthening of the regional development councils, the other on some political amendments with relation to political parties and anti-political turncoatism and anti-political dynasty. And the third package of surgical amendments was the lifting of the restrictive economic provisions of the Constitution. Now, even before Speaker Lord Alan Velasco became Speaker, he was already an author of resolution of both houses number 2, RBH number 2, which focuses simply on the restrictive economic provisions of the Constitution. So early this year, this month, there was a meeting of the different political parties in Congress, and it was decided that there will be political parties and the different political parties cross party lines and have a consensus towards pushing for only the lifting of the restrictive economic provisions of the Constitution.
Just to correctly put a timeline, am I correct in saying that you guys pushed for this even before 2019? Kasi parang natatandaan ko na pag-usapan natin to 2018 na meron na kayo mga consultations on the ground. And then the task force was only assembled when? During 2019? Or 2020?
We pushed for this in 2019 because in 2018 we were still pushing for the draft of the consultative committee. Remember the consultative committee created by the president with Chief Justice Renato Puno and Senator Del, that group, no?
So this is to replace the movement before kasi dati yung direction ng reigning political group or the current administration was for federalism with
that's right,
retired Justice Puno as well at the helm. So biglang from the federalism dinala nyo na towards constitutional reform or charter change, and from charter change biglang napunta na ngayon towards strictly economic reforms. Correct?
That's natumbok nyo, sir. Natumbok nyo because we took our cue from the president because in his SONA, after when he delivered his SONA, kailan ba ito, 2 years ago, he was asked by the media, Mr. President, why didn't you mention federalism in your SONA? He said that I would rather that we just amend the Constitution rather than revise it. So taking our cue from the president's pronouncement, we looked for the surgical amendments, that we can push for in the remaining half of the presidency. And what Congress decided to push for is the economic provisions.
Okay, well, speaking of presidential cues, last month, I remember distinctly President Rodrigo Duterte saying his focus was on the removal of the party list system. Pero ano nangyari that from attacking party lists and yung family parties or anong tawag nila doon, political dynasty, biglang napunta na lang tayo sa economic revisions of the Constitution.
I think Congress is just being realistic, Sir Cito, given the limited time. November will already be the filing of certificates of candidacy for the 2022 elections. So there's really very little wiggle room for any amendment. And we all know that the more amendments we want, the more debates, no, the more debates will happen, and there's really no time anymore. So I
Okay.
think the shutdown decided na what is realistic, no, given that the process of amending this constitution is one of the hardest things ever to be done by any
Yeah.
administration in our history. Every
Well,
single Philippine president have tried it and no one has succeeded. So they sat down, they looked at the reality of the situation. Uh, what is the amendments that we can work with the Senate with? And speakers Alan Velasco's, I think, line of thought is, I think we can sell this to the Senate if we push just for limited amendments to the economic provisions and assure the Senate that there will be separate voting.
okay, but is this really all about getting something quickly in the short possible time? Or is this a compromise that Congress is manipulating? I'm sorry, I don't want to put you in the spot, no, but to educate our viewers, because I have the impression na kanya nalaglag yung gusto ni Presidenteng anti-political dynasty, removal of the party list system, is because nilaglag ng Congress and ginawa ng Congress, okay, para matuwa naman kayo, we promise you the economic reforms instead. And what is the reaction of the people that you represent, yung mga na-consult ninyo? Because going back again to 2018, the spirit back then was for reforms signified by many local government officials.
Yeah. Well, Sir Cito, I wouldn't want to, speak for in behalf of Congress. No, I wasn't there when they discussed the multi-party meeting. I only heard from Senator Tito Soto, the Senate President, that when they met with the President mentioned about the party list system and how the party list system is being used by certain sectors as a vehicle. Yung kanyang concern, no, about the influence of the Communist Party in the party list, in several party list groups. So but si Senate President Soto already said that he will file an amendment to the party list system. He said that in reaction to what the president said, it would not be necessary to abolish or amend the constitution because there are ways wherein we can achieve the same objective simply by amending the party list law. So, if I remember correctly, Senate President Tito Soto said that he will file it today. He will file the amendments to the party list law today to address the president's concern.
Okay, well, that's good news. Then let's move on to the next topic. Medyo may mga na-alarma because in the past year, you had hired about 50,000 contact tracers, and for 2021, you are only going to hire 30% of that, or something like 15,000 lang daw. But you still have a fund of 1.9 billion. Parang sabi nila, kadamo gid ng kwalta, bakit naman tinitipid sa contact tracing? Lalo na ngayon, hindi natin mahanap yung Magnificent Seven.
Oo. Sir, our situation in contact tracing is strong. As a matter of fact, just to give everybody an idea of how we hire our contact tracers. In the beginning, we did not hire contact tracers. Contact tracers were employees of government, volunteers, barangay health workers, which we mobilized and organized into contact tracing teams. So we did not need to hire additional ones. We did not need to allocate funding. All we needed to do was just to organize the contact tracing teams under the local government unit and ensure that they're trained and they have the necessary information to be able to do their job and provide them with the necessary PPEs and the tools they need to do their function. So, but towards the end of last year, because of the increase in number of cases, the DOH said that the ideal number would be the ideal contact tracer to population ratio would be 1:800. So we computed that. We said we needed some 180,000. Yes, 135,000 contact tracers. If the ratio is 1 contact tracer to 800, to fully cover 108 million Filipinos, we would need 135,000 contact tracers. Now, so to be able to meet the 135, the DILG requested 5 billion from Congress so that we can meet the 135,000 target. So Congress gave us 5 billion. We hired around 46 or 47,000 last year. But since then, we never stopped organizing more contact tracer teams. LGU contact tracer teams in the provinces, which is composed, again, as I said, by the Municipal Health Office, the Barangay Health Workers, Philippine National Police, Bureau of Fire Protection, CSOs, and volunteer organizations. So when we looked at the data, we now have 255,854 contact tracers nationwide. May surplus na tayo. May surplus na tayo.
Okay.
That's the first reason why, instead of hiring the 50,000, we decided to just hire 15,000. Because, as you correctly mentioned in your opening spiel, may mga lugar na po na wala ng kaso. May mga lugar na kaso that the IATF is now considering to go back to new normal, and wala ng quarantine classification. So, ang daming lugar na ito, and we don't need contact tracers, DILG hard contact tracers there anymore. All we need are the existing regular contact tracers of the local government unit.
What
So that's
about okay? What about Yusek John? What about yung well, not all LGUs can manage, pero particularly in developed urban areas, cities, and Metro Manila, Metro Cebu, etc. Medyo parang maraming hindi pa nakaka-adapt nung QR code. Ang yabang, no? Kala mo magaling, ano, na pinagawa ko lang sa pamangking ko eh. Pero it's so practical. Here in Pasig, that's what we do. You get an ID, you have your QR code, you register online, and then you print your QR code. Ako, pinalaminate ko, and we simply show it in all the places we go to. Wala ka ng listahan, and verified yung contact tracing mo. So, why is it that many local governments have not yet adopted a simplified, modern way of this system?
Yeah. Actually, we don't encourage them to develop their own contact tracing apps because there is a official DOH contact tracing app, which is the Stay Safe. Stay Safe app, which is developed by Multisys and which was donated by the private sector to the national government, specifically to the DOH. So, kailangan lang siguro natin paigtingin, Sir Cito, yung ating effort to have everyone download the app. No?
Alam mo, yan ang sinasabi ko, Doc Yusek Jan eh. You know, every day I discover on this program that there are many things that government is doing. But kailangan mong magtanong para malaman na meron pala. And you are with the DILG, the IATF. Pakisabihan naman po sila, libre naman. Magsabi dito sa programa, libre naman, i-mention sa column, hindi kami kaaway. No? Kung minsan nakaka-frustrate na lang. Like katulad niyan, pinagyayabang ko sa iyo yung QR code ID ng Pasig City. Yung pala, mas gusto ninyo na ang ginagamit ng buong Pilipinas, yung QR code ID nitong DOH. But I've only interviewed them once, and that was when they were still talking and going through the process. There has never been any information extended to us or the people I know that it's already go and it should be the platform that we all use.
Yes, definitely there's a need to encourage more people to use the Stay Safe app. But if the LGU already has an existing one, wala namang problema. They can continue to do so because Stay Safe app is interoperable with the LGU systems. So even the Valenzuela system, the Pasig system, and other systems nationwide, they are interoperable with the Stay Safe application. Anyway, sir, you also mentioned about informing the public of future developments, no, to utilize your show. One of the latest IATF resolutions is the safety seal system. The safety seal system is a sort of a certification process by government on all establishments nationwide, wherein the government will inspect the place. For example, inspect a restaurant, check if
Mhm.
the protocols are being followed, check if minimum health standards are being followed, and if they are followed, they will put a safety seal or an inspected seal on the front of the establishment, just
Mhm.
to show, just to increase consumer confidence, because we need to reopen the economy and we need people to go and eat in restaurants or go to commercial establishments, and if there is no assurance that that establishment is following safety protocols, then hindi lalakas ang loob ng ating mga consumers. So
Mhm.
part of the things that the team will look for in the establishment is the Stay Safe app. Okay?
Mhm.
Yung
Okay.
digital notebook, the QR code. So hopefully, when this thing is rolled out this month, more and more establishments will now require the Stay Safe app, and that in turn will force the consumer to download the app.
Mhm.
So
Actually, the word force the consumer, or the phrase force the consumer, I think that's not necessary. I think we all want it. Kasi nakakapiko naman talaga yung hindi lang autograph hingin pa yung name, address, gender, vital statistics, marital status, etc. Para ka nag-a-apply sa trabaho. In any case, that's good news, but how do the establishments enroll for the safety seal program or for the seal of safety from government?
yes. We're almost done with the joint memorandum circular, kasi what we wanted, Sir Cito, is across all government agencies, isang standard lang. Kasi
Hmm.
kung minsan nagko-conflict pa, kami na nga lang nagko-conflict pa. So we have a technical working group sitting down so that every government agency that makes the inspection follows a certain set of protocols and follows the same checklist. So it will be launched very soon. Our target is to launch it this month, and it's voluntary. No, we're not
Mhm.
saying all establishments should have something like that. No, what we're saying is, if you are a consumer and you want to go to a restaurant or go to a certain establishment, if you see this seal, you can be assured that it has been inspected, and it will be
Mhm.
regularly inspected. And the purpose is of course, ensuring
May,
consumer confidence as we reopen the economy.
may bayad ba para magpa-inspect?
Wala.
Wala. Okay, ngayon, so walang bayad, libre yan, and sino mag-i-inspect? Local government or national government agency?
Okay, iba-iba po, no? Because even government offices will be inspected. So the Civil Service
Oh.
Commission will inspect the national government agencies, the offices of the national government agencies, the city halls, lahat po yan
Mhm.
civil service. The big malls, I think, are to be inspected by the DTI.
Mhm.
The large factories are to be inspected by DOLE. The hotels will be inspected by the DOT, and everything else will be inspected by the LGU.
Okay. Please hold everything. We will continue our conversation. Magko-commercial lang para may pangsweldo. We will be right back here on Agenda. Okay, we are back here on Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and with us is Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya of the DILG. Okay, Yusek John, yung medyo baka pagmulan ito ng mabuti na lang ikaw yung kaharap. Kasi kung si Yusek Densing ang kaharap namin, baka siya ang maputakti dito. No, because apparently Undersecretary Densing made a statement or is being quoted as having issued instructions to local government units na bibili lang sila 50% of their vaccine requirement and the other 50% will be provided for by government. It kind of comes in off tangent or medyo weird kasi we've always been saying these decisions are to be made by local government officials because there is local government autonomy, and yet suddenly here we have a sort of a parang compromise by order o a compromise by order. No? I want to be nice in 2021. I don't want to be critical. No? What's going on?
Okay. First, let me set the record straight, no, Sir Cito. No? Number one, this was done in consultation with the LGUs. Okay, there was a meeting. There was a meeting of the DILG, Vaccine Czar, Secretary Galvez, the Department of Health, and all of the leagues. No, the League of Provinces, the League of Cities, and even ULAP, or the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines. And it was decided by all of the agencies present that the approach would be the LGU will only procure up to 50% of their requirement. Okay. The second that we have to consider, Sir Cito, is that the agreement signed by the LGUs with the different pharmaceutical companies, in particular AstraZeneca, the supplies will only be delivered around the third quarter of this year.
Yeah, so, July daw eh.
Yeah, there's also a question of sometimes yung iba nga August pa eh. So
okay.
There's really no commitment so far as to the exact date because of the problem with the global supply. No.
Yeah.
That's the second consideration. The third consideration is that Congress gave government, the national government, money to buy vaccines to the tune of 82.5 billion. This money comes from the GAA for 2021.
General Appropriations, ano
yes.
ba? GAA, para at least alam ng mga tao. General Appropriations.
General Appropriations Act for 2021. This is in the DOH budget. And also, in the Bayanihan too, because if you remember, the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act also provided funds for vaccine for COVID response, and the validity of this law was extended to the end of this year. So if you bring that all together, there's 82.5 billion.
Correct.
So the primary responsibility really of vaccination is the role of the national government. But the LGUs are saying we have money and we want to buy too, and we don't want to shut the door to them. But the priority of the pharmaceutical companies will always be the national government. So they will first deliver to the national government before they deliver to the LGU. So we may have an absurd situation wherein the LGUs that have money will get theirs in August, and the LGUs without money will get theirs next month or the month after, because they will get their supplies from the national government. Okay? So para hindi naman mahuli lahat, ang napag-usapan na lang is the national government will as soon as we receive the supplies, and we hope to receive the vaccines by next month from Pfizer, simulaan na kaagad ng vaccination, whether it's a poor or rich LGU, or whether the LGU has already signed an agreement with whoever, pero basta nandun siya sa priority ng mga lugar na mataas ang kaso, magba-vaccinate na siya. And then susundin na yung list as soon as the supplies arrive through the national government. And then the local governments will come in once their supplies come in as well. So, para naman hindi magdoble-doble kasi bumili na sa national government at bumili din sa LGU, sinabi
Well,
na lang namin, just
yeah.
50%.
Well, it's good that we're discussing that because nauna ko na rin naman sinabi yan. I actually mentioned it in my column in the Philippine Star. Sinabi ko, delikado itong sitwasyon na ito. I mean, to be honest, at the very beginning, I was highly suspicious of how the vaccine purchase was being done by the DOH. Kasi medyo nabigla ang tao eh. Walang detalye, walang sinasabi, biglang sinabi, done deal na. I think that was a bad move. In fact, many of the authorities and experts abroad have said, what we need is clear messaging. Ang nangyari, political messaging took precedent or surfaced over what was supposed to be really, as you pointed out, the job of the national government. And ang pinakamasama is for the national government to buy 82 billion pesos worth of vaccines but with no takers kasi lahat naman ng mga local government bumili na. And kung pinupulaan natin ang national government or making them suspect for potential corruption. Pati na nga the good Secretary Galvez na kapit-apitagang tao siguro ang sakit na ng katawan niya sa sama ng loob. But we can also cast doubts on the local government officials. Bakit nauuna kayong bumili ng bakuna? Baka mapolitika kasi parang not so much yung nakawan yan Parang pogi points lalo na coming into the election and for 2022. So, well, it's good, no? Good that we tackle sandali. Okay, any case.
Yeah.
Last question ko na lang, Yusek John, yung itong road clearing. Paano ba? Heads or tails? Medyo parang may mga tao nagsasabi, bakit may road clearing ba? Wala namang sasakyan dito sa lugar namin dahil nga sa COVID.
Ganun ba? Kasi, alam mo naman, Sir Cito, no? Sa panahon kasi ngayon, kuminsan di mo maintindihan yung gusto ng tao. Yung isabi ng tao, pandemya, tigilan muna yung road clearing. Ang sabi naman ng iba, kahit may pandemya, gawin natin yung trabaho natin. Yung ibang departamento, kailangan ginagawa. Work cannot stop on other things, no? And I also agree with that, no? And if this also brings me to the issue of Chacha. Na just because we're in a pandemic doesn't mean we don't do it. Pero iniwanan na natin yun, let's go to road clearing. The same argument can be used for road clearing na a lot of people were complaining na, bakit nakalimutan na? As you said, people are back to normal, people already know how to take care of themselves. So why don't we bring it back? So reacting to that clamor from the public, the Secretary reinstated road clearing last November and gave the LGU 60 days. So that deadline was supposed to be last Friday, but yung mga LGUs requested for an extension. So we gave it until the end of this week.
Okay, my last and difficult question, how is Secretary Anyo doing? Kasi medyo nag-aalala po ako. Sincerely, nag-aalala po ako pa sa kanya because last I read, sinabihan na siya ng mga doktor niya, pwede ba magpahinga ka na muna kasi na 2-0 ka na ng COVID, hindi ka na bata, dapat retired ka na. How is the good secretary doing?
You know, Sir Cito, I have worked with for so many individuals, no, senators, congressmen, secretaries, mayors, actually. And I have not seen a more hardworking boss than Secretary Anyo. I've heard legends about him when he was still in the armed forces. Pero for the record, sir, no, since Marawi siege, wala na pong pahinga yan sa Secretary Anyo.
Exactly.
Yeah, because immediately after his retirement, he was appointed to the DILG. And he immediately assumed. So wala talaga siyang pahinga, and then nagpandemya tayo. So I think he himself realized that he has to pace himself dahil nga naka 2-0 na siya. And the doctors are also worried about him. So he has decided na magpahinga na muna, and he's nagpapagaling siya. He's making himself strong because he's the vice chair of the NTF. So he took a leave until the end of the month. and nagpapalakas siya so that he can go back full time again to his work, not only in the DILG but also in the National Task Force COVID-19.
Sabihin mo, inaanyayaan ko siya doon sa lugar sa amin, sa Lipa. Malamig-lamig doon, kain kami. Tapos pakuya-kuya-kuy na lang doon, manood na lang kami ng mga manok at saka ng mga aso. Kasi, no, seriously, people in government also need a break. And the good secretary, pakiusapan mo na lang yung misis niya, i-detain na lang siya para mapahinga naman. In any case, please send him our good wishes. Please tell him we pray for his full recovery. And umasa naman siya dun sa Yusek Densing at Yusek Malaya. Magagaling naman yung mga yun eh.
And thank you, Sir Cito. I will relay to him your good wishes for his health. And in behalf of the Department of Interior Local Government, we thank you for your kind words to our Secretary and to your show for being our partner in informing the public of the important information that they need in this time of pandemic.
Okay, favor na lang Yusek John, pakisabi na rin doon sa ibang members ng IATF, hindi po kami kalaban, kaibigan po kami, kausapin lang kami. Huwag kaming anong tawag doon? Huwag kaming sungitan. Thank you very much, Yusek.
Maraming salamat din po at mabuhay po kayo.
Okay, that's Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya of the DILG. Marami po tayong naliwanagan. And now we go for a break. And when we return, let's talk to Professor Leyco and find out his views and analysis regarding the congressional move for economic charter change here on Agenda. Okay, excuse me, may nakaalala. Welcome back to the program Agenda. And next up, we have an economist, president of the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Maynila, a former Undersecretary for Finance and Administration at the DSWD, none other than Professor Emmanuel Leyco. Professor, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Cito, and good morning to our viewers.
Okay, Prof, I'll go straight to the point. Pinag-uusapan natin itong charter change, and many of the congressmen are talking about inserting a phrase in the Constitution unless otherwise provided by law. Meaning, pag sinaksak nila yung phrase na yan, ay pwede na nilang pakialaman on a continuing basis yung ating Constitution. Correct po ba?
Opo. and I find it very dangerous, no? Mas magiging very soft ang foundation ng ating mga batas. Ang Constitution, ang ating foundation, this is the platform where all our laws, our legal platforms is based. So if we do that, it will soften the platform, the foundation of our legal structure.
Okay, so it could be a precedent. They may only do charter change for economic purposes now, but with the insertion of that phrase, they can do political corrections in the future. Ngayon, going to the economic revisions being pushed by Congress, what is your reaction to this? Is it necessary? Kasi nagtataka ako, Professor, you would think that the business sector would be the ones going, rara, sis bomba, luluwag. Pero parang silang, teka, wag, ayaw namin yan.
Opo. And I will borrow the analogy used by our colleagues from the finance executives of the Philippines who said that it is not timely. Kung baga, sa ngayon, we are putting together infrastructure to feed our people, and then you order housing renovation. Mukhang hindi bagay, hindi napapanahon. At sa palagay ko rin naman, ang mga negosyante natin dito ay may kakayahan para itayo, itindig, ibalik ang sigla ng ating ekonomiya. I think sapat na yung panahon natin na nakikipag-ugnayan tayo sa mga iba't ibang mga negosyante sa iba't ibang bansa at kaya na natin. And I think this is where economic history should be reviewed. Before our independence, the US had 100% access to our resources, to our economy, to our government, and yet pinaglaban ito ng ating mga ng pamunuan, ng mga pinuno natin, kaya nagkaroon tayo ng independence. And part ng independence natin, binigyan natin sila ng parity amendment, no? At ito ay natapos, I think 1974, no? Or the thereabouts, no? In the 70s, natapos yung parity amendment. What was the purpose of that? The purpose was to allow a period where the Philippine economy could be strengthened using support from other countries like the US. And I think there was enough hand-holding from another country for us to be able to grow on our own. If we are not able to do that, mukhang that is a big denial of our capability. And also, I think it's important that we look at the experiences of other countries.
Yeah,
For example,
good point. Yeah, I'm curious ako. Yung bang mga ibang bansa na pumayag na mag-ari ang mga foreign companies ng lupa, etc. Or countries who did what our congressmen want to do, what was the experience?
well, if you look at China right now, can you own land in China? Can you own utilities in China? Can you own broadcast stations in China? You cannot even run Facebook or Messenger in China. And yet, they've been growing in an impressive manner. No, hindi kailangan yun. Hindi kailangan. I don't think so.
Now, any other country na mapapakita mo as a classic example of a failed economy when they adopted what Congress wants to adopt?
Well, I'm not sure kung ang Vietnam is already allowing them 100%. But look at Vietnam right now. May pandemic. This year, they are also recording impressive growth. No, parang this is the easy way out. No, dalhin ang negosyante, dalhin ang factories nila dito, and expect that they will already inject growth in our economy.
Okay,
may I? No?
Go ahead. Sorry.
May I? There is a very concrete example here. No, ang FedEx was here. No, they took over use of Clark Air Force Base. Pero umalis din sila at lumipat sila sa China. Bakit sila lumipat doon? No? Hindi naman dahil sa may pag-aari na sila doon, pero mas malaki ang negosyo sa China kumpara sa Pilipinas. Pagka dumating ang eroplano ng TEDx, puno. Pero pagka lumabas, kulang. So one way lang ang ating trade, one way lang ang ating traffic. So what does that indicate? Ang hint natin doon is na the economy has become globalized. Pero kung ikaw ay importer lang, hindi ka talaga makakasali doon sa global economic activities. Kung ikaw ay hindi nag-export dahil hindi ka nakakapag-export dahil wala ka namang economic infrastructure sa Pilipinas. We have I think remaining second most expensive power in Asia. No, I think we are next to Japan. So ang cost of business dito sa Pilipinas ay mataas. So dalhin mo dito ang negosyo, mataas pa rin. Ibaba mo ang kanilang tax rate kung wala namang bumibili. And remember, ang economic strength ng mga countries are also based on the domestic strength ng kanilang local economy. Kung hindi matatag ang ating local economy, mahirapan sila. So, countries who went to China, hindi naman lahat yun for export. Marami doon ay ibinebenta nila sa China. And they had a billion people market. And they were buying, they were purchasing. May purchasing power ang Chinese population. Ang Pilipinas, wala tayong purchasing power. Mahinang ang ating purchasing power. Lalo na ngayong may pandemya. So,
last question ko, Professor Leyco, the resistance toward by the private sector, no? Am I correct in saying that part of the resistance to opening the gate, so to speak, is because there is a protectionist attitude among big business in the Philippines? Kumbaga, nako, pag pinapasok mo pa yung mga foreign investors dito, may kalaban na kami sa negosyo, mas maraming pera yan dito. Because I remember I was in an event at one time and everybody was complaining about corruption, and I said, you guys are the big guns of business. Why don't you go to Malacanang? Why don't you sit down with customs? No one would say anything. And kakakulit kung ganon, someone bravely answered and said, do you want to know why? Yes, I want to know why. And he said, well, we know how to deal with the local corruption. So we will survive. If you let in these big boys, mamamatay kami. What do you think, Professor?
Mukhang that's more of an exception rather than the rule among business. Ang mga negosyante sa Pilipinas, and I think I know enough about our business sector, they are very open to partnerships. They are very open to transfer of technology. They are very open to a wider market. And I know that our local business is against corruption dahil that is an additional cost to business. Kaya lang, siguro marami rin sa kanila na napipilitan na makilaro, pero I don't think that is the rule.
Okay.
Our businessmen, our business sector maintains a very high standards of integrity.
No, but they're resisting the open door because they will have competition.
No, not necessarily kasi they can partner. No?
Okay.
And that's what the big businesses are doing. They're partnering. Pero not necessarily na matatalo sila. Hindi naman kasi malaki ang mga margins natin. There's so much to go around in our market. And there's so much to learn from outside, pero not necessarily na hindi nila kaya. Kaya naman ng ating mga negosyante. And I think the toddler stage ng ating economy is over. We are grown-ups, we are adults, we know how to do business in the global market, and I think we should respect that. We should rely on that.
Okay. We'll call on you, if you don't mind, we will call on you again para maturuan mo kami how to get out of kindergarten into high school or elementary para makaunlad yung ating ekonomiya. Thank you once again, Professor Leyco.
Sisikapin natin.
I hope to speak with you again very soon. Have a great day, Professor.
Salamat po. Salamat.
Okay. Yan po si Professor Emmanuel Leyco at siya po ang nagsasabi na wag nang kalikutin iyang constitution. I, on the other hand, would say, please stick around, watch our succeeding programs because agenda is now finished for the day. Have a great day. God bless all of you.